You joining us no matter the platform you're watching on: YouTube, Twitch, Kick, TikTok Live, or Instagram Live. Wonderful to have you guys with us. I'm a bit on the move in Massachusetts, hence why I had to bust out the Massachusetts shirt for this episode. So forgive me if the setup behind me is a little off or things are a little different, but we always want to be live for you guys as often as we can. So great to be with you on this Monday. Hope you're having a good one. Make sure you guys put your questions and comments in the chat. Butt Fumble Sports is here for you guys every single day that we can be, so make sure that you join us every single day. Mr. MJD doesn't necessarily mean that. I'm never biased towards my own teams. I always look at the data, trends, analytics. That's what we focus on every single day. Great to have you guys with us. Phillies over 8.5 runs. How we feeling? Luke, let's dive into it. That's a good one to get us started. So we're going to dive into that Phillies game first. Of course, we'll put up our picks up on the big board, but if you miss any of our picks every single day, just DM me on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports. You can find my picks every single day if you DM me on Instagram. With that said, let's dive into this first game of the day that we're going to be discussing. Again, that is the Phillies game. That's got a 6:40 first pitch. So if you guys are focused on that one, 6:40 first pitch, Phillies in Detroit facing the Tigers. Looking at the market for this game, not surprising, Philadelphia is getting a lot of love. 85% of the tickets are on Philadelphia to win, 93% of the money on the Phillies to win. As for the run line, Phillies are -1.5. That's getting 97% of the tickets, 89% of the money. As for that over-under, the over-under line was opening at 8.5. It's since come down to 8. Right now, 81% of tickets, 82% of money are on that total. Let's dive into the trends on this one. And the first way we go about our research every single day is jumping onto killersports.com and just checking out certain things about these two teams. For example, when the Phillies are in the first game of a series on the road against an opponent with a losing record so far this year, Phillies in that scenario, as we wait for Killer Sports to load up, the websites we use for our research every single day are Outlier, Outlier, and killersports.com. So for that first research query that we put in, this season so far, when the Phillies have played the first game of a series on the road against a team with a losing record, they are 6-3 straight up, 5-4 on the run line, 5-4 favoring the over just slightly. But just diving into that one a little bit, when they've been an away favorite, first game of a series on the road against a team with a losing record, same thing, hasn't actually changed. Killersports.com is loading slowly. So we're going to do the best we can with the slow internet that we have. C-Bands, Pirates and Reds under 5.5 after 5 innings. They haven't gone 5 runs in 4 games. C-Bands with a good play there. Good nugget. By the way, love when you guys bring research to the show, so if you guys have research of your own that you want to share, feel free to fire away. Okay, when the Phillies are an away favorite, first game of a series against a team with a losing record, they're 5-2 straight up, 5-2 on the run line. Certainly love that. Aaron Nola on the mound for the Phillies. Let's dive into some of the trends around Aaron Nola so far this year, specifically this year, when he's been on the mound as a starter, regardless of location. Killersports.com. It's a slow play today. That's too bad. Wow. 2004. First starter. Killersports.com having a tough time. Forgive me, we're just waiting on the load. For those that are curious, Asian Jim, I'm taking the under. Take under 5.5, take under 6.5 if you're looking for parlay plays. Come on, killersports.com. You were working earlier today. Let me see if I change this. No, killersports.com having a tough time loading. What if I close this? And this is how I did my research for the picks that we gave out today. So forgive me. I want to get to the research. Let's see while we jump on over to something else. Let's just look at the Tigers right now. Tigers' first game of a series when they are a home underdog against a team that has a winning record so far this year. Under that scenario, we're running queries while we can. Yeah, this should have loaded. Killersports.com let me down under this scenario. If I can't get it to work, we're just going to give out some picks and we'll call it a day. But we're trying to do the best we can. Unfortunately, slow internet. I'm off Instagram, so we're not broadcasting on Instagram. Trying to reduce internet where we can. I'll come off of this. I'll come off of this. Yeah, this should be loading. Okay, guys, I do like the Phillies to win, so I'll put it on the board. Having a bit of a struggle here, so I'm just going to give out some picks. We're going to cut the show short. I apologize to all you guys out there, but if we can't get things to work, not much use in just hanging out. With that said, I like the Guardians and the Orioles to go under 9.5. Phillies on the money line. I am taking that. I would also consider taking the Orioles on the money line, but not a high enough confidence level for me to put them on the big board. There's a discrepancy between the Mariners and the Rays. I would say avoid it, but personally I'm leaning just maybe slightly towards the Mariners, but just slightly. I'm not telling you to necessarily take that one. I like the Reds on the money line. Reds on the money line, one I absolutely like. Personally, I'm pretty big on Blue Jays plus 1.5. Blue Jays plus 1.5. I also like Blue Jays and Red Sox to go under their total. Blue Jays and Red Sox, I think it's going to go under 10.5. Braves and St. Louis, I'm taking the Braves, but just barely. Braves on the money line. I didn't have a pick for the Rangers and the Brewers. Dodgers and White Sox, interesting one. One I would probably avoid. Reasons to fade both teams actually under the scenario that they're in. Maybe my favorite play of the day is Royals on the money line. Royals on the money line, absolutely one of my favorites. And that's kind of where we cap out. Personally, that's where I kind of finished the picks. So the picks I had up on the board were Phillies money line, Guardians and Orioles under 9.5, Reds on the money line, Blue Jays plus 1.5, Braves on the money line, and Royals on the money line. As for this NHL Game 7, Oilers, Panthers, I'm taking the under. I took under 6.5, and I would call that a parlay play. Put it into a two-leg parlay with a bunch of other things you like. But that said, I think it's probably going to go under 5.5, so I just think it's going to be a lower scoring game. All the trends back that. Again, a quick recap of all the picks we put up. Let's see if we can get anything to work. Killersports.com not running for us, unfortunately. That's what's slowing us down. Otherwise, we would be going through each game the way we normally do. But the picks we're giving out for today's show are Phillies on the money line, Guardians and Orioles under 9.5, Reds on the money line, Blue Jays plus 1.5, Braves on the money line, Royals on the money line, and I actually will throw one more in there. I would do Padres on the money line. That's another one I like as well. Padres on the money line would be the last one. Appreciate you guys being with us. I'm curious now, since I can't get Killer Sports to work the way that I want right now, which obviously highly disappointing. Does anyone want to do a fantasy football mock draft? Anyone up for that? If anyone wants to do that, I'm kind of down for it. If anyone wants to do a fantasy football mock draft, I'm kind of for it. So if you guys are up for it, let me know. Obviously, thanks so much, IP Shade 45. If you guys are up for it, I'm down to do it. The way I gotta do it, hold on one second. I just gotta pull up Instagram so I can give you guys the link to the draft. But if you guys want to do this, since I can't get the sports betting to work, let's just do some fantasy football, everybody, right? Like, why not? Do I have to log in? It's too bad it's not for free. Oh, it is. I do have a login. Great. So, the League 12. Okay. So, we're going to do a 12-team league. I'm going to set some league settings right now. 12-team league. If you guys are up for it, let's do... Oh, I just want to do a mock draft. I don't want to do a real draft. It's a mock draft, right? New NFL mock draft. Okay, so all I got to do is I got to claim a team, and then I can copy the invite link. So whoever wants to join a fantasy football mock draft, DM Butt Fumble Sports right now. So go to Instagram, DM Butt Fumble Sports. I'm going to give you guys the link. You guys can join the mock draft right now. That's how we're going to do things on the show today. Because we couldn't get killersports.com to work, was continuing to screw up. We couldn't do our research for our picks today. So, you know what? Let's turn this into a fantasy football day. If you want to do a fantasy football mock draft with us live right now, go over to Instagram, DM Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram to join. Alex, I just saw. Thanks for hitting me up. I'm going to add you right now. So Alex is going to join this fantasy football league with us. We're going to do a mock draft. Again, this is just a mock draft. Alex, great to have you with us. Just sent it to you. All you got to do is click the link, and then you just can claim a team. Diego, great to see you, Diego. Been a minute. Great to have you joining the mock draft. Again, if you're watching the show right now, we're going to do a fantasy football mock draft. Since we couldn't do our sports betting research like we would normally want to, let's do some fantasy football mock drafting. We're not too far away from the season, so if you want to join, DM me on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram. If you want to join a fantasy football mock draft with us right now, totally up for it. So El Pinche, if you want to join, Stephen Cleveland, if you want to join, Farika, if you want to join, just DM me on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports. We're going to do that once we get enough people to claim a team. El Pinche's already joined. Alex has joined. So we have about 9 spots left. Feel free to claim them while you can. Fewer than that. We've got 7 spots left. It's going to be a 10-team mock draft. So again, for all those out there who are watching right now, if you want to do a fantasy football mock draft with us, DM Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram. You can join the mock draft right now. IP Shade 45, anyone else who's watching the show, feel free. While we're waiting for people to join the mock draft, we're letting you guys know that we are going to do a lot of fantasy football research and content throughout the next few weeks. So if any of you guys are up for it, make sure you hit me up because we're going to do shows specifically for fantasy football moving forward. Again, we're going to do a fantasy football mock draft. If we don't, Alex and Diego, if we don't get people to join within the next couple of minutes, we'll just do a mock draft of our own and just see what the results are with the computer drafting in those empty spots or in those spots that are just going to do an auto pick. But if you want to join a fantasy football mock draft right now, DM me on Instagram right now, Butt Fumble Sports. I'll give you guys the link and you can immediately join the mock draft. We're going to do the mock draft in just about 3 minutes. We'll wait until 5 o'clock and then we'll start the mock draft. So if you're up for it, let us know. J-Dub, as for that A's and Angels game, that's a coin flip for me. I really didn't have a good vibe on it, so I actually didn't touch that game. Felt like it could go in either direction. Again, we're going to do a fantasy football mock draft for all those that are watching the show. If you want to get in on that, make sure you DM me on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram. DM me on Instagram, and we'll hook you up with a link, and that way you can join the mock draft. And by the way, after the mock draft, we'll see if I can get killersports.com to work. If not, then we'll just call it a day with the show. For those that are watching on YouTube, appreciate you guys as always. Twitch as well. Make sure you guys are with us. Tennessee and Texas A&M, who takes it all? Personally, I think Tennessee wins it all, Diego, but I'm not a fan of either squad, so there were some other teams I wish had gone farther, but I'll take Tennessee. I'll take them Vols. We're going to do a fantasy football mock draft in just a moment. If you guys want to join it, make sure you DM Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram. DM Butt Fumble Sports. I'll hook you up with the link so you can join the mock draft We're going to do a mock draft in just a moment. Who do I think is going to win the game tonight? This is a really tough one. Personally, I do think it's going to be the Oilers. If I were to bet on it, I actually think there's some value on the Panthers. So I am kind of on two sides of the fence. From a betting standpoint, I'd lean slightly towards the Panthers. They have actually better value right now. But what is my head telling me? The best player on the ice is Connor McDavid. The Edmonton Oilers have all the momentum. The Panthers are literally on the verge of the greatest collapse, you could argue, in sports history, given that it's a series and not just one game. Falcons, you're off the hook a little bit. So I think the Oilers are going to win, but if I were to bet it, I'd actually bet the Panthers. So a bit of a discrepancy there. One thing I would say is take the under. Under should be a very good play in this game. Trends have favored unders in Game 7s historically. Appreciate you guys both being with us, or all being with us. We are doing a fantasy football mock draft in one moment. If you guys want to join it, DM me on Instagram. Last chance to join it. We're going to do a fantasy football mock draft over on Sleeper. If you want to join it, DM me right now. I'll give you the link so you guys can be a part of it. Other than that, we're just going to have some fun in the limited time we're going to do the show because our research tool of killersports.com not working at the moment, so we're audibling to fantasy football mock draft land. J-Champ, we were just talking hockey a moment ago. I take the under, and if I were betting it, I actually might go closer to the Panthers in terms of value. Okay, we are going to start this draft. Alex, Diego, get ready. We're starting the mock draft right now. Tyreek Hill went first. A run on wide receivers, really. Hill, Jefferson, McCaffrey did go third, and then Chase and Lamb went fourth and fifth. So in the first six picks, a run on wide receiver. Team 7 took Gibbs. Team 8 took Robinson. Diego, one of our human drafters, is going to be selecting now. Takes Breece Hall. Great pick by Diego. Exactly the player I was going to go with. So a little disappointed there. Taylor, Kyron Williams, Etienne, Achane. I really need a running back. Absolutely essential for this. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor. And I'm going to double down with it. And I'm going to double down, and I'll go Kyron Williams. I don't love the spot that I'm in. Part of me wants to take Josh Jacobs. I just felt like it was a reach at that 10-11 spot. I doubled down on the running backs, just wanting to load up on that position. So in the first round of this mock draft, we had 5 wide receivers and 5 running backs go. In round 2, it opened with Kyron Williams, and then went A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua, and Garrett Wilson. Barkley, Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. going in the mid-second round. Third round, a couple of tight ends just went. Laporta went before Kelsey. Josh Allen, first quarterback off the board in round 3, followed by Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs. Doing a fantasy football mock draft. Would you do 0 wide receivers in Dynasty 12? I'm second overall pick. I wouldn't do 0 wide receivers throughout the entire draft, but I would certainly value running backs, I think, a little bit higher, actually, because there are fewer that will produce high production, high value. So I think there are a lot of wide receivers you can find on the market. Achane, next one off the board. Etienne and Achane just went. I have my 2 running backs, so I'm going to lean towards wide receiver. Someone I'm really big on this year, I think DJ Moore is going to have a monster year. I know Keenan Allen is there. I don't necessarily think that's going to take away a lot of his value. Evans, Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman Jr. is actually a really attractive pick for me. I double down. I'm a little bit overloaded on the Colts right now, but I like Taylor and Kyron Williams paired with DJ Moore and Michael Pittman Jr. So 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers in the first 4 rounds. In a dynasty, would you trade Drake London and a second round for Olave? Absolutely not. I think Drake London has a lot of value, especially with Kirk Cousins coming to town. Thoughts on Ladd McConkey? Love Ladd McConkey. I'm hearing wonderful things about the chemistry he's building with Justin Herbert. I think he is going to get a ton of targets. I think he's going to be the number 1 receiver there. I think Quentin Johnston is going to continue to fade. Might have a better second year than first, but I don't think he's a number 1. I think Ladd McConkey is. Rico, thanks so much for the corn. Appreciate that. We're doing a fantasy football mock draft. If you guys want to do a next one with us, feel free. Luke, we'll give out the picks in just a moment. We'll recap the picks, but we're doing the fantasy football mock draft for the moment. Won't take too long. We're already in round 5. By the way, in round 5, we have a number of different positions going. Rashad White, followed by Devontae Smith. Joe Mixon went next. Lamar Jackson came off the board. 5th quarterback to go off the board, followed by Andrews, Walker, Flowers, McBride, and Tank Dell. I'm next to pick. There's been a run on quarterback. Personally, I'm going to take Anthony Richardson. It makes me way too loaded on the Colts offense, but I'm actually okay with that. I'm going to go back to the running back position. I kind of like what I'm seeing from James Cook last year, and I certainly think that with Buffalo, I understand that they have other running backs that they can turn to, but I think James Cook showed something later on in the year, so he's going to be my 3rd running back. I'd rather get a 3rd running back than a tight end. For me, I can find a number of tight ends later in the draft that I'm willing to almost wait on. Dalton Kincaid did go right after I picked James Cook, but I'm fine with that. So far, my team is Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Anthony Richardson, and James Cook. I'm very big on the Colts offense. Probably too much for this draft. Again, this is a mock draft. I probably won't treat things the same in the future. Thoughts on Jaylen Warren? I think Jaylen Warren was a great secret weapon last year, but not big on him this year. I understand with the quarterbacks, maybe that opens up the passing offense, which allows Jaylen Warren to face fewer defensive players in the box. But personally, I'm not as high on him this year because I think the secret is out. And if I'm an opposing team, my goal is to take away the running game of the Steelers and force their passing game to beat me. So I'm not as big on Jaylen Warren. Luke, no problem. Appreciate you being part of the show, so don't ever think that I have a problem with it. Nick, what running backs can we look into since I know there was movement this offseason? Well, I certainly think Josh Jacobs with the Packers could be a very interesting play. He'll be a bell cow for them. Really quick, just because I've got to focus on making a pick, I've got the back-to-back here. Brock Bowers is an interesting one. Jake Ferguson is as well. Because I've got the time, I'm not going to actually reach on a tight end. I'm going to take another wide receiver. I already have DJ Moore, so I'm not going to take a Dunze. I don't feel great about doubling down there. I am willing to take Xavier Worthy, though. Hollywood Brown with KC, those are both picks I'm willing to take. Calvin Ridley is actually a really interesting one to me with the Tennessee Titans. Jaden Reed. I'm in an interesting spot. I'll take Brock Bowers. I know I have the back-to-back, so that just puts me in a position where I'm back looking at the wide receiver. Not going to take Jordan Addison because I don't like Minnesota enough. I'll take the flyer. I'll take Hollywood Brown. I know it seems like a risky pick in the 8th round, but I think I trust him a little bit more than Xavier Worthy. He's had the opportunity to work with Patrick Mahomes throughout the offseason, so I feel a little bit better about that. By the way, Luke, I'm not hating on the Calvin Ridley big year. I just think there are a few more question marks with the Tennessee Titans than there are the Chiefs, and that's why I went in the direction I did. What about Zach Moss for the Bengals? Interesting idea, but frankly, I'm almost hoping for like vulture scores, inside the red zone getting touchdowns. Brandon, I don't think there's enough value on Zach Moss. If it's a very late draft pick, like last round of the draft, trying to stack a little bit of extra depth, I agree with it. But frankly, I wouldn't put too much value on Zach Moss. Bengals offense might use him again in the red zone, but outside of those touchdowns, I don't see him getting a ton of production. Alex, so far, interesting draft for Alex. St. Brown, Barkley, Diggs, Samuel, Walker, Burrow, Kittle, and Jordan Addison. My only issue with your team, I think it's a great team, Alex, is it's very dependent on guys staying healthy who do have a bit of a history of injury. Barkley, Diggs, Samuel, Burrow, little bit of caution there, but I don't have too big a problem. I think the roster is really strong, at least for the first few weeks of the season. We're right now in round 9 of this fantasy football mock draft. We couldn't get our sports betting research tool, killersports.com, to work the way we wanted to, so we pulled an audible and did some fantasy football mock drafting today. We're going to do more of this in the next few weeks, so if you guys want to do more mock drafts with us, the way we're going to do it is exactly how we did it now. I'll just start the show, say to you guys, if you guys want to join, DM me on Instagram. I'll give you guys the link for the mock draft, and you guys can participate with us. I feel like it's useful to go through mock drafts with other people. So, Jacob, you're such a loyal viewer. We've got a number of people who join us throughout the fantasy football season. Excited that we're only about a month away from fantasy football season really kicking off. Mock drafts, we might be a little bit early on this, but it's fine by me. Alex, you're drafting right now, so let us know where you're going to go with this pick, buddy. JP Money, what do you think of the Dodgers? That line seems scary, not a big favorite. And the reason for that is because the starting pitcher of the White Sox, Garrett Crochet, has been fantastic this year. I actually think there's a lot of value in the Dodgers. I understand if you don't want to bet it because it is a bad scenario for them. But frankly, if I can get the Dodgers on the money line at the line that I'm getting, I think it's really advantageous. So I did take it. Alex on an auto pick to pick Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley in the 9th round, not a terrible play. Diego up next. He took Jackson Smith and Jigba. Really interesting there. Now it's me. I'm in round 9. I've got Mostert, Eckler, Warren, and Moss on the board. I've already taken 3 running backs. I usually like to take 4 pretty early. I'm going to go with Austin Eckler. I know Raheem Mostert coming off a monster year, but I like Eckler in that offense, especially with Jaden Daniels. I know he said he doesn't want to be a bell cow. That's not what I'm asking him to be. I'm asking him to be dynamic, and I kind of like taking him at that 9th round spot. I think there's good value there for Austin Eckler. Now in round 10, I'm looking at wide receivers. Ladd McConkey is on the board. He's the highest ranked wide receiver available, followed by Deontay Johnson of Carolina, Brian Thomas of Jacksonville. Interestingly enough, Thomas and Christian Watson are there. I'm interested in both of them, but not nearly as much as Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey may not be on the best passing offense in the league, but he might be the best option in the Chargers passing offense. I actually like taking the rookie in that scenario. I'm also a big fan of taking rookies, especially as you get to rounds 10 through 15. Take a lottery ticket. Who knows if you're going to cash in big. The chances that you end up using players rounds 10 through 5 are somewhat risky anyways. You go to the waiver wire so often for the positions that you draft in those rounds. So I don't mind going kind of taking a flyer on a wide receiver, especially if they're going to be a high target or high receptions, high rushing attempts rookie. If they're not, if obviously they're kind of a flash in the pan, they have to get one big play. I think of, frankly, I wasn't as big on Tank Dell last year, and I should have been, because I didn't think there was going to be enough volume there. Turns out there was. But I think Ladd McConkey is going to get plenty of targets. Marvin Harrison Jr., by the way, he went in the 2nd round of our mock draft today. I personally think that might be a little bit too high. I think round 3, round 4 is way more appropriate given his actual value. But he's going to get a lot of targets, so I understand at least why the algorithms are valuing him at that spot. A couple of quarterbacks came out in round 11. Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams came off the board. I already have my quarterback, Anthony Richardson. I probably will draft another one in a moment, but for the moment, I actually kind of like doing this when I have the situation that just came up. I already have Austin Eckler. I kind of like taking Brian Robinson and playing the two off of each other. Definitely something I'd consider. I think I prefer that over taking Devin Singletary, Gus Edwards. Blake Corum's an interesting one, but I think having the 2 running backs for the Washington Commanders isn't a bad idea. If one of them gets hurt, I know I've locked in an RB1. So kind of nice to have the 2 of them, especially because I already have Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, and James Cook as running backs. So I'm not in a risky position where I'm overly reliant on them. I already have 3 wide receivers, McConkey, Hollywood Brown. I have 4, DJ Moore and Michael Pittman. So I really could use a backup quarterback to Anthony Richardson. I have Jaden Daniels up on the board, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins is kind of an interesting one, actually, as is Aaron Rodgers. This is one in which I'll take a chance on the rookie. I'll take a chance on Jaden Daniels. Part of the reason I say that is I like the offense they're going to put him in. They'll use him in a multitude of ways. Maybe I'm overloaded on the Colts and on the Washington Commanders, just given how many players I have from those two teams. But I don't mind where I've positioned myself given those options. Appreciate you guys joining us for the mock draft. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Chris, Cousins or Rodgers? I think I prefer Cousins, maybe slightly a little bit more, but it's very, very close. I think they're going to put up similar numbers. User 67, my head tells me Oilers. My wallet tells me Panthers. I'd be wary betting against the Panthers, actually. I think there's a lot of value there. Jake, crazy how far Eckler has fallen from last year. I completely agree. He was considered a first-round talent to many people, including myself last year. Okay, we're in round 13. Now's the time I start to look for defense. Rounds 13, 14, 15. Have we had a defense come off the board yet? I'm not seeing one as of right now. I'm going to take the Jets defense. I think the Jets defense is going to be fantastic this season. Very aggressive up front. Obviously, they'll get a ton of turnovers, so I'm taking the Jets. And then I'll take my kicker now. I like to get kicker and defense out of the way and not wait until the 15th round. I got Tucker, Butker, McPherson, Aubrey, Elliott. Kind of a toss-up who I would take. I'm going to go with Justin Tucker. It's more about the reliability as well as when they put him on the field, the level of confidence that I have, and the number of times they use him in long field goal situations. I know he's getting a bit older, but I'm not too worried about that. So I've got Justin Tucker. Already got my defense in the Jets. So I'm just going to wait for almost everyone else to clear out those two positions. One of the reasons I actually like drafting in that end of a round, I can double up on two positions before everyone else makes a run on him. So before Diego is going to be the last to go, he's got to pick a kicker. Diego, by the way, Diego's team, Breece Hall, A.J. Brown, Devon Achane, C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, Dalton Kincaid, David Montgomery, Tony Pollard, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Xavier Legette, Dallas Goedert, Brown of the Bengals, Aaron Rodgers, Houston Texans, and he's looking at kickers right now. I would assume, unless he's just going to take a kicker off the waiver wire. My team is Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Anthony Richardson, James Cook, Brock Bowers, Hollywood Brown, Austin Eckler, Ladd McConkey, Brian Robinson, Jaden Daniels, the New York Jets, Justin Tucker, and I've got one more pick to go with. This is the ultimate lottery ticket. I'm in the last round of the draft. I'll take a chance on Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, it's a toss-up here. You know what? I take it back. I'm going to go with Mike Williams. If Mike Williams comes back healthy, could be a nice lottery ticket there. So that completes our draft, our first mock draft of the year. Thanks for everyone who watched. Let's do a quick poll, everybody. Let's do a quick poll. If you guys want to do another mock draft, smiley face. If you're like, I'm over the mock drafts, crying face. Let us know what you guys want to do. Smiley face, do another mock draft. Crying face, no more mock draft. Up to you guys, let us know. If you guys want to do another mock draft, smiley face, no more mock draft, crying face. I'll let you guys vote. Up to you guys. Smiley face, yes. Crying face, no to a fantasy football mock draft. Again, you guys get to participate. So if you guys want to do that, smiley face for yes, crying face for no, let us know. Dan Lee says no more. Dan Lee, we couldn't get our research tool to work. Killersports.com, fail city. We're getting a bunch of people saying they want to do it. So if you want to do another fantasy football mock draft, DM me on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports, DM me on Instagram right now, okay? So DM me on Instagram if you guys want to participate in a new fantasy football mock draft, okay? We're going to take the first 9 people. So hit us up, Fantasy Football Mock Draft. DM me right now on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports. Butt Fumble Sports, DM me on Instagram if you want to participate. We'll let Diego be part of Draft 2.0. If you guys want to be a part of this next Fantasy Football Mock Draft, DM me on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports. DM me on Instagram. By the way, Luke, I'll give you the picks after we load up this next mock draft. Still Starvin wants to participate. Still Starvin, you just got the link for our Fantasy Football Mock Draft. If you want to do a Fantasy Football Mock Draft with us, DM me on Instagram. Dan Lee, I'm going to give out picks once we've loaded up the Fantasy Football Mock Draft. So, if you guys want to participate in our next Fantasy Football Mock Draft, DM me on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports. Jorge wants to get in on that mock draft. I know he does. Jorge, great to see you. Daniel wants to be a part of the Fantasy Football Mock Draft. Go claim your team, Daniel. Great to have you joining us. Again, this is a chance for you guys to participate. All you got to do is DM me on Instagram. I'll give you guys a link, and that way you can go claim your team. You have to DM me on Instagram, though. I can't give out the link on TikTok. So DM Butt Fumble Sports, the name of my company, Butt Fumble Sports. DM me on Instagram, and you guys can participate. So Raul, go over to Instagram, look up my Instagram account, which is Butt Fumble Sports. DM me saying you want to participate, and I'll send you a link. You hit the link, you claim a team. We're mock drafting in a few minutes. So far, we have 3 people in. We have 7 spots still available, so if you guys want to participate, DM me on Instagram. That's Butt Fumble Sports. In fact, if we could get somebody to... Someone could write it in the comment section, and then maybe we could pin it. That would be helpful. DM me on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports, if you want to participate in this mock draft. Raul, what's good? Now I see ya. You just got the link, buddy. Go claim your team. You can mock draft with us any day, including today. Dirty Dan has joined us. So we have 6 spots left. 6 spots left for this Fantasy Football Mock Draft. We'll probably start it at 5:25 Eastern Time, so about 4 more minutes. So if you guys don't want to participate, that's totally cool. Diego, there you go. If you guys want to participate, though, DM me on Instagram and go claim your team. That way we can mock draft together. Again, that's Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram. We'll do another mock draft in just a moment. Diego, I see you. Jorge, I see you. Dirty Dan. Raul's in here now. We only have 5 spots left. So again, one more time, if you want to participate, we're about to do a Fantasy Football Mock Draft over on Sleeper. If you want to participate, DM me on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports, DM me on Instagram. You'll get a link and a referral code so you guys can participate. We'll give out some picks because I know you guys care about picks for today's baseball action. We're going to give those out in a moment. But we're loading up this Fantasy Football Mock Draft right now. 5 spots left. So all you got to do is DM me on Instagram. Last opportunity to. Coming down to the final minute or 2 before we're just going to get started. Mike wants to join. Mike, welcome to Butt Fumble Sports. Thanks for hitting us up. Hit that link. Go claim your team. We only will have 4 spots left. So if you guys want to participate, make sure you're getting involved now. By the way, for all those that want to know some baseball picks we have for today, we've got, these are baseball picks, so everyone listen up. Baseball picks. We have Phillies on the money line. Baseball picks, Phillies on the money line. We have Guardians and Orioles under 9.5. Guardians and Orioles under 9.5. We have the Reds on the money line. Reds on the money line. We have the Blue Jays plus 1.5. Blue Jays plus 1.5. We have the Braves on the money line. Braves on the money line. We have the Royals on the money line. Royals on the money line. And we have the Padres on the money line. Only NHL pick, we're taking the under. Under in the Stanley Cup Final, Game 7. Okay, guys, those were our picks. We're going to do a fantasy football mock draft right now. So for all of those that are joining us, appreciate you being with us. We are going to randomize the draft order right now. Randomizing. And we are going to start this draft. So if you're participating in this fantasy football mock draft, we will start it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fantasy football mock draft is a go. So Dirty Dan is up first. We're doing a fantasy football mock draft. So for all of those that are participating, good luck. Have some fun. Let's get at it. Mailman Mike, great to have you with us. Good to know you're Burlacker. I worked with Brian Urlacher for a moment at Fox. Dirty Dan goes Christian McCaffrey with the first overall pick. Diego is up second. He goes Tyreek Hill. Raul up next. So we've had McCaffrey and Hill come off the board with the first 2 picks in the first round. CD Lamb went number 3. Burlacker up next. Who's Burlacker going with? We've had McCaffrey run on wide receiver. So McCaffrey was the first overall pick. Then it's been Tyreek Hill, CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. A run on wide receiver. I'm going to go with a running back. I'm going to take Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson, first round pick. So and then the first round ends with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Breece Hall, Puka Nacua, and now Jorge is the last person to be picking in this first round. So in the first round so far, of the 10 players that have been picked, 9 so far actually, up 10 as Garrett Wilson goes, we had 6 wide receivers in the first round, 3 running backs. 2 running backs have gone so far in this second round. So far, the running backs to go are Kyron Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs. Wide receivers on the board, Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to double up on running backs. I've got Bijan Robinson with the first overall pick, and I take Jonathan Taylor with the second round pick. I actually picked 6th in the first round, 5th in the second. So off the board in the second round, another running back. So far, 5 running backs through 7 picks in the second round. Again, we're just doing a fantasy football mock draft. Maybe this guy will give you guys some good insight for your own fantasy football prep. Just hearing what other people are doing, where other players are going. Number 1 player on the board is Marvin Harrison Jr., followed by Drake London. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes off the board to El Pinche. Diego now has Tyreek Hill and Marvin Harrison Jr. Pretty strong wide receiver core. Drake London, Chris Olave, Sam Laporta, Josh Allen, and Travis Etienne are the top 5 players on the board according to Sleeper and their rankings. We're about to close up the second round as Dirty Dan makes his pick. Dirty Dan went Christian McCaffrey with the first overall pick. Wow, shocker. Going Sam Laporta, tight end, comes off the board as the last pick of the second round. Wow, shocker. Dirty Dan taking his time on this one. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. Make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time we go live. I know today was a little wonky because killersports.com wasn't working. It usually does, so we'll do our regular sports betting research on tomorrow's show. So forgive us the audible on our content. Dirty Dan has 3 picks in. McCaffrey, Laporta, and Travis Etienne. Interesting. 2 running backs and a tight end. Diego, who went wide receiver with Tyreek Hill and Marvin Harrison Jr. with his first 2 picks. Where will Diego go for number 3? He's going Derrick Henry. So Hill, Harrison, and Henry, the H squad. Raul now up. Raul picked CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk in the first 2 picks, first 2 rounds of the draft. Again, this is a mock draft. We will be doing mock drafts where you guys can participate all summer long. So make sure you follow Butt Fumble Sports. Make sure you join us during our live show. And make sure you participate. The mock drafts are intended to help you guys get better for the fantasy football season, as well as a way for us to engage and interact throughout the entirety of the show. Raul, man, you guys are slow pickers. Raul has CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk going. Dan, first overall pick is a challenging spot to be in. The one benefit is you can set the trend. Obviously, maybe getting a position before there's a run on it. But there's also the problem, I think, in the first few rounds of high expectation. You're almost assumed to take McCaffrey. You're assumed to take certain players because they're just ranked too high. And I think sometimes that's false pressure. It's not actually the way you should be drafting. So, Dan, I actually think the first overall pick's a tricky one. Raul, make that pick, buddy. It's a mock draft. I feel like 2 minutes might be too long on this. I feel like you should be able to make the pick in 60 seconds. There you go. Josh Allen, first quarterback off the board, goes in round 3. Personally, I'm not about taking quarterbacks in the first 3-4 rounds unless they have running capabilities like a Josh Allen, like a Jalen Hurts. But if you're just taking a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow, I actually think rounds 3 and 4 are a bit of a reach. I wouldn't say that about Allen. I wouldn't say that about Jalen Hurts because you're going to get that running back kind of value as well. Josh Jacobs, Burlacker, you son of a bitch. That's who I was going to take. I was going to take Josh Jacobs and triple up on the running back position. Not going to do that now. Not value there. Olave on the board. Stephon Diggs on the board. Nico Collins on the board. At tight end, I got Kelsey, I got McBride, I got Mark Andrews. I don't really want to take that right now. I'll take Jalen Hurts. I'll reach on the quarterback here, again, because he's got the running back value. So Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, and Jalen Hurts are my first 3 picks. Don't have a huge problem with that. Jorge's next. Jorge took Garrett Wilson and Kyron Williams with the first 2 round picks. Isaiah Pacheco, next one off the board. So 2 running backs in the bag for Jorge, 1 wide receiver to go with it. Top players currently on the board: Kelsey, Collins, Samuel. There went Collins. 4 wide receivers go in the 4th round. Too bad. The very position I needed. Cooper Kupp is still on the board. That kind of interests me. Malik Neighbors is on there. Deebo Samuel is on there. But I'm going to take DK Metcalf. I actually like DK Metcalf's value there in the 4th round. So I'll take DK Metcalf. There's been 6 wide receivers taken in this 4th round. Pittman, Waddle, Collins, Moore, Metcalf, and Samuel. So a run on that position. Personally, I'm not thrilled about that as I already have my 2 running backs and my quarterback, so I would have liked for some value at the wide receiver position to fall. But I'm okay with it given I really locked in my quarterback, 2 running backs, and my wide receiver 1. Maybe Metcalf takes a small step back, but I think he'll get plenty of targets. And most importantly, when DK Metcalf is targeted, he's a big play, touchdown wide receiver. It's great to have a lot of production between the 20s, but Metcalf produces a lot in the red zone or produces on deep passes that collect multiple points per catch. So very happy about that. So far, only 1 non-wide receiver taken in the 4th round. It was Travis Kelce. Raul took Cooper Kupp. Burlacker has Jefferson, Achane, Jacobs, and Kelce. Interesting squad. Diego got his 2nd running back. Diego's team so far is Hill, Harrison, Henry, and James Cook. Interesting move taking James Cook in round 4. Tank Dell comes off the board for Dirty Dan. His first wide receiver So far, Dirty Dan's team: Christian McCaffrey, Sam Laporta, Travis Etienne, and Tank Dell. The Cooper movie. You know I'm big on Metcalf in part because physically he can go up against any corner. I don't think he's ever overmatched against a corner. I think sometimes he doesn't get targeted enough. But overall, I feel very strongly about the fact that he can produce. And for me, I actually think in round 4, that's decent value. If you told me that he was a 5th round pick, I'd believe it. But I think I got him right at the spot that was a good value. Jose, I do have Braves on the money line today. Yes, I do, Jose. Braves on the money line. Again, the reason we're not doing our normal sports betting research show is killersports.com. One of the websites we use to perform our research wasn't working. So rather than me twiddling my thumbs or just ending the show prematurely, I figured we'd do some fantasy football mock drafting. Maybe this ain't for you. Forgive me if you're a loyal viewer. I'm sorry that today's content doesn't match what you've come to expect, but hopefully this is something that does entertain you and is something you participate in the coming weeks and months. So we are into round 5. Hollywood Brown comes off the board. I think Hollywood Brown has a lot of value to him, so I think that's a sneaky good pick for Dirty Dan. Round 5 might be a bit early on him, but it's pretty close. Diego took CJ Stroud to round out his top 5 players. Joe Mixon goes to Raul. Malik Neighbors came off the board to Burlacker. Patrick Mahomes goes to the auto drafting team. So far, I have Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Hurts, and DK Metcalf. I need to go back to the wide receiver position. I'm not thrilled about my options, but where am I going to go? For the moment, I'll lean towards Zay Flowers. Last year, Zay Flowers was one of my favorite players in the draft. I said to a lot of you guys that I thought Zay Flowers was going to be a breakout star. He really did validate that kind of belief that I had. I don't know if he'll have the same kind of production this year. I certainly hope so. But I think the offense is going to change. I think the Ravens offense is going to be far more dynamic this year, which actually may hinder or hurt Zay Flowers' overall production numbers. After Zay Flowers was selected by yours truly, Lamar Jackson, Dalton Kincaid, Devontae Smith went with the next 3 picks. Austin need another wide receiver. Yeah, right now I've got my top 5 players. My quarterback's Jalen Hurts. My 2 running backs are Bijan Robinson and Jonathan Taylor. You know I feel great about that. My 2 wide receivers are DK Metcalf and Zay Flowers. I feel okay about that, but not great. G-Bucks, you're not in the draft. I'm sorry about that. If you guys want to participate, you just need to DM me on Instagram next time. Austin, I like my lineup as well. For me, you guys are going to hear this a lot from me. I'm very big. Oh, I'm sorry, G-Bucks. I don't know what's going on. I'm very, very big on getting your 2 running backs out of the way. I know wide receivers have a lot of value in today's NFL, but I actually think that's a reason to maybe be a bit cautious on them. You're going to find a lot of wide receivers who have pretty good value. There are only a handful of running backs that can truly have top RB1 potential. So I'm very big on get your running backs early, get the elite if you can. The chances that they're going to be the difference are pretty high. Okay, so I've got my 2 running backs, I've got my 2 wide receivers, and I've got my quarterback. I'm now in that spot where I can lean towards running back or I can lean towards wide receiver. I'm actually going to take a bit of a chance here. I love Rome Odunze. I think he's really talented. It might be a bit early for me to take a rookie. I usually don't like taking a rookie this early, but I don't think I'm going to get him in round 7. So I'll go Rome Odunze in round 6. Yes, might be a bit of a reach, but those are my 3 wide receivers or my 2 in a flex. I feel okay about that, and I haven't doubled up on any positions or any teams so far. So from a bye week standpoint, I'm very clean. I have 6 players, 6 different teams. Something I always like to be aware of is not doubling up on one team if I can avoid it. Austin, I like Ferguson, but I have my questions a little bit about the Dallas offense. It's actually not about Ferguson. I think he is a good player to draft. But overall, where is this offense going to be dynamic? And does that hinder the opportunity for Ferguson to have another breakout year. Garrett Tilley, J.J. McCarthy at 2.01 a reach in Dynasty. I think he is. I understand at this point, J.J. McCarthy is almost like a draft and stash. I don't think he's going to play early in this season. If you want to do it based on his future potential value, I might be able to be talked into it. But I think in the first pick of round 2, that still feels a little bit early to me because I'm really waiting on not just next year. I'm banking on the fact that the wide receivers they put around him turn him into a great fantasy quarterback, and I'm not sure about that. What's my opinion on Zeke coming back? I think Zeke actually has more value than people think. The problem is there is one Cowboys fan in like every draft who already overvalues the Cowboys anyways. So personally, Zeke is the kind of player that if I were in an auction draft, I would nominate the player and then not bid on them at all to see if I could get someone to spend more money than they should on a player that compared to other running backs doesn't have enough value for me. Speaking of the Cowboys, Dak Prescott was just the last pick of the 6th round. So far in this draft, we've had 2, 5, 7 quarterbacks come off the board so far. This is the order they came off in. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson, and Dak Prescott. If I could say one thing to fantasy football owners out there about the quarterback position, Anthony Richardson. If he can stay healthy, the talent is there. The breakout ability is there. He can run it. He can throw it. He's got all the tools. If Anthony Richardson is available in your draft, I would make the move for him. If you're overloaded on Colts players, maybe you don't. If you already got Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor, if you're already loaded on the offense, I get it. But if you're looking for a value quarterback this year, Anthony Richardson, I just think is an obvious play. I don't think I'm alone in that. I don't think that's a special take or a hot take. At this point, I think it's obvious. His physical ability makes him an absolute steal. Once you get from rounds like maybe 6, if you can get him in around 8, steal city for sure. All right, I need to be making my pick. Looking at the running back position, I took 2 running backs early. I kind of luck out here. I was looking at DeAndre Swift. He was available, and I thought that was a decent play. Ramondre Stevenson, I don't hate that one as well. I'm going to lean just slightly, I think, towards DeAndre Swift. So I'll go Swift with that 3rd running back position. But I'm willing to wait and see if Ramondre Stevenson is still available. If he is, I'd be willing to take him in round 8 as my 4th running back. We're talking fantasy football, that's right. So our sports betting research app, website that we normally use, killersports.com, wasn't working, so we audibled and decided to do a fantasy football mock draft, which we're going to do a lot over July, August, right up until the season. So make sure you guys DM me if you guys want to participate in fantasy football mock drafts. Of course, follow, subscribe. Make sure you're joining us every single day we do a show, and that way you never miss out on an opportunity to do a fantasy football mock draft with us. Right now, we have 6 people participating in this mock draft, 4 auto picks, so letting you guys know. Do I think people are sleeping on Patrick Mahomes? A little bit, only because his wide receiver group is much more talented this year. So I feel better about Patrick Mahomes this year than last year. Personally, I wasn't big on Patrick Mahomes last year, so I avoided him. What do you draft on? Oh, well, that gets interesting. So last year, Rival Fantasy put up all of our drafts. We did over 40 drafts. For mock drafts, we're doing Sleeper. We'll see if Rival Fantasy is still our home for fantasy football this year. We'll see. We're talking to them now, seeing if we're still going to do Rival Fantasy for our fantasy football platform. But for the moment, we're using Sleeper for this fantasy football mock draft. Jorge, you're on the clock, buddy. And if you're not on the clock, just switch yourself to auto. Just like cut out. I'm actually going to bring this time down. I want to move faster. So we're going to do 60 seconds, everybody. We're going to make this faster. 60 seconds on a pick. I gave Jorge a whole 60 seconds more. Didn't mean to do that, but appreciate you guys being with. When's the next draft? We've done 2 today. I feel like that's going to be enough. Well, let's do a fantasy football draft tomorrow, everybody. So we're going to do our regular show at 4:30 tomorrow. 4:30 Eastern time tomorrow. Make sure you join us. We'll do another fantasy football mock draft then. Obviously, we'll go back to doing some sports betting research. But if you guys want to do another fantasy football mock draft, we can absolutely do that. That'll be at 4:30 tomorrow, everybody. 4:30 tomorrow. So 4:30 Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. Time's up, Jorge. Rasheed Rice. Jorge, just auto skip. Okay, I'm auto picking for you, Jorge, because you were slow as shit. Okay, so back now to my pick. I don't have a tight end yet. I like that idea about Jake Ferguson, but I'm actually going to wait on it one more round. I'm going to make a bit of a flyer. I'm going to take Xavier Worthy. I want a Chiefs wide receiver in there somewhere. I already have Metcalf, Flowers, Rome Odunze, so I've got Xavier Worthy now, 2 rookie wide receivers, but guys who could absolutely see a lot of production. So I like that. I've got 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and a quarterback. Haven't drafted a tight end yet, but I'm willing to wait on the tight end position. Number of tight ends that have value, and I feel like I could wait on it just a little bit. A's on the money line, not touching that game. It's an interesting one. I absolutely think it could happen, but not going to touch it. Austin, I think there's a lot of value there as well. The only question I have is who do I like more, Hollywood Brown or Xavier Worthy? I think it's Brown, just given his experience. He's been able to connect with Mahomes a little bit in this offseason, but I think both players have enormous value because they are pure speed in an offense that knows how to get the ball down the field. So really high on both of them. Raul is on the clock. We have Raul, Diego, Dirty Dan, Burlacker, Butt Fumble Sports, and Jorge in this mock draft. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time we go live. We do have a big board for baseball. Throwing that up on the screen right now. We have Phillies on the money line. Phillies on the money line. Guardians and Orioles under 9.5. We have the Reds on the money line. We have the Blue Jays plus 1.5. And then we have Braves money line, Royals money line, Padres money line, and the Oilers and Panthers. Oilers and Panthers under 6.5. Those are the picks that we have up on the big board right now. Couple of rookies going at the end of the 8th round. Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey both go. Interesting. Brian, Phillies like it. Dodgers like it. Royals minus 1.5. I like it, Brian. I like it. Austin, I think you've got a really good point. As long as these Chiefs players can stay out of legal trouble, they have enormous talent at the wide receiver position. And to just think, the Chiefs went from arguably their worst team in terms of wide receiver talent to, you could argue, maybe their best. Obviously, no one's as good as Tyreek Hill, so maybe not their best in terms of top-end talent. But in terms of 1, 2, and 3 all at one time, for Patrick Mahomes, this might be as good a trio as he's ever had. Diego's going Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman is absolutely a rookie wide receiver that I have my eye on, so an interesting pick there. Really like that one. Calvin Ridley went next in round 9. Burlacker going next. Pollard, Williams. Okay, I got to make a pick. It needs to be a tight end. And Njoku up on the board. So is Ferguson. I'll take Ferguson. I'll take Jake Ferguson. We talked about him a moment ago. We're gonna let computer do an auto draft since Jorge isn't with us. So Butt Fumble Sports back on the board. I'm gonna take a flyer. I'll take Jackson Smith and Jigba. I already have DK Metcalf, so it's actually a bit of an insurance play. If DK gets hurt, I've got Jackson Smith and Jigba, who automatically vaults into that number 1 spot. That said, I do have 5 wide receivers. I won't draft another wide receiver. 5 is plenty. I have 3 running backs. That's a position I could probably address with my next pick. Not a lot of value there. Jonathan Brooks, Jalen Warren, Zach Moss, Trey Benson, Devin Singletary, Tajay Spears, Brian Robinson. So really just selecting a backup in that case. Austin, I'd go Njoku. Interesting. The tight end position, Njoku went at the end of the round. I took Jake Ferguson. Between Ferguson and Njoku, it's really a coin flip for me. I just think Ferguson's going to get more targets, more opportunities. Making our way through round 11 of this fantasy football mock draft. Hope you guys are enjoying the content, the conversation. I know it's not our normal show, but appreciate you guys continuing to take time out of your day. Dirty Dan goes Justin Tucker in round 11. That's a reach. That's a reach. I absolutely wouldn't do that. I'm not a believer in taking a kicker way too early. As for some picks, folks are asking me about some picks that I like today. I love the Royals on the money line, Ethan. Royals on the money line. I really like the Braves on the money line. Braves on the money line. I like the Phillies on the money line. Phillies on the money line. I like the Padres on the money line. Padres on the money line. So those are a few of my favorite picks for the day. If you guys want every bet that I make every day for free, just DM me on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports, DM me on Instagram. I give away all of my picks for free. Whether I put them up on the air or don't, whether I made the picks on my own, make sure you're with me. Austin, peace out, homie. Which piece? Time for me to make another pick. I'm going to go backup quarterback. I'll take Jared Goff. Jared Goff is my backup quarterback. Cool with that. I'll take a backup tight end, probably with my next pick. Because I didn't like the running back options. So even though I only have 3, I'm almost willing to wait on that. I just don't see value. Oh, Jorge's dipset, so I got a computer auto. Computer auto. I'll take a flyer on Blake Corum just as a backup running back because I've only got 3 picks left. Later, Austin. Hope you have a great day, buddy. Appreciate you guys being with us. Jonathan, Eli Manning's your pick? Man, talk about missing on the value. Hope you guys are enjoying the content and enjoying the show. Hope you're having a wonderful day no matter where you are. Butt Fumble Sports is a home for all of you sports fans, whether it's fantasy sports, sports betting, or just ranting about what's going on in the sports world. We absolutely love talking with you guys every single day. Raul has left the building, so we're going to auto pick for him. Diego, you're up next, buddy. Jonathan, Mark Sanchez. Butt Fumble Sports doesn't endorse Mark Sanchez, that's for sure. Doing a fantasy football mock draft. We only have 3 rounds left, so making our way. By the way, this is a mock draft in which you can participate each and every day with us. We're going to do mock drafts from now until the start of the season. So if you guys want to participate each day, just follow, subscribe, join Butt Fumble Sports every time we go live. We go live almost every single day, 4:30 on weekdays, 11:30 a.m. on the weekends. Diego went with the Jets defense in round 12. I think it might be a 1 round early. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. You could have probably waited 1 extra round, but you're only waiting 2 picks. So, Diego, I understand. I do think people tend to reach on defense, kicker, quarterback, at times at times tight end rather. I think the positions you can't get enough of are running back and wide receiver. Tight end, you could talk me into both sides of the argument, but you can wait on quarterback at times. You certainly can wait on kicker and defense. I think sometimes those are overvalued. Diego. Someone likes Florida tonight. Let's go. Okay. Jaden Daniels just went next. Raul, we're going to skip Raul because he's up. Sorry, Raul, you were with us, but you weren't. So, Burlacker, you're up next. We're going to be quick on these. We're going to be quick on these. There you go. I'm going to take... I'll take Luke Musgrave. I kind of like taking the tight end for the Packers. We'll do quick. Looks like Raul is back, so Raul, I'll let you make your final couple of picks. I'm going to go defense with this 14th round pick. I'll take the 49ers defense. We're in that kicker defense time, so it should go pretty quick. Daniel, I got you. Raul, you were there, and then you left. So I'm going to skip you again. Who's Diego going to take? Yeah, Daniel, I just advise waiting on the kicker. You could have gotten the kicker in round 13, and you would have been just fine. So it's one of those, if you want to wait until round 13 or 14 to take a kicker, I get it, but you don't need to take him at 11. Around 11 is a time you can still get a lot of value, and I just don't think kicker at that time is worth it. Appreciate you guys being with us. This was a crazy show. We were still on for over an hour, so despite the fact that we couldn't get our sports betting research going, I still had fun with it. By the way, I agree with you, Mailman Mike. I think the Bears defense is much better than people are giving credit to, or giving credit for their performance last year. I think they're a pretty good defense. Ricky Pearsall. Diego, I love the Ricky Pearsall pick. Love that. As a flyer in round 15, I think it's a really good play. Really good play. Burlacker, you're up next. I've got like fruit flies in my house. I'll take Moody. We're closing out the draft, and mock draft is completed. I'll share with you guys what my team was. I was picking 6th overall. I went Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor. I then went Jalen Hurts. 3 wide receivers then went next. I went Metcalf, Zay Flowers, and Rome Odunze. Doubled up on the Bears, going DeAndre Swift with my next pick. Then I went Xavier Worthy, Jake Ferguson, Jackson Smith-Njigba. And then to round out the bench, I went Jared Goff, Blake Corum, Luke Musgrave, and my defense was the 49ers. My kicker was Jake Moody. That's the play I'm going with. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I know this wasn't, again, our traditional show, so I hope you guys join us again tomorrow. Hopefully we can get things back to normal. But we will be back live at 4:30 tomorrow. So 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time we go live. So make sure you're with us at 4:30 tomorrow on Tuesday. And again, if you guys miss any of the picks that we give out, DM me on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports, we give away our picks for free every single day. So DM me on Instagram. That's Butt Fumble Sports. I know you didn't get to see the pick research that we did today, but you can find our research almost every single day. So just DM me on Instagram, okay, everybody? Butt Fumble Sports. DM me on Instagram, and you'll get every bet that I make. Hope you have a wonderful Monday night. Enjoy Game 7. Nothing sweeter than a Game 7, especially in the Stanley Cup Final. We'll see you guys at 4:30 tomorrow. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Goodbye.